So I've decided to put pollen patties in our bees, but the question is, have I made a big mistake? So welcome back again. I've decided to do a little midweek video, seeing we've got quite a bit of content this week. We were busy over the weekend, as you'll see, over in Liverpool. We've decided to put pollen patties in our bees. And toying with the idea, I've looked at the forecast, as I will mention, and it looks quite mild. And ultimately our target is for this year is, as it always is the early spring rapeseed or canola, and then obviously early season splits as well to increase our numbers. So one thing I do apologise for this video is the audio is pretty non-existent, so there is a couple of points where I do voiceovers, but hopefully that'll explain the process and my train of thought in putting pollen on the bees. So straight away I'm adding some apiaries, which I got from Melanie Griffith from Griff there. He obviously bought it online. So we've mixed that in initially with a little bit of sugar syrup just to get it combined, and then we're just going to add our Ultra Bee. So I bought this back in December when it was on offer, and we just mixed this with a little plasterous paddle and our 18-volt drill. So it got pretty going towards the end, obviously the thicker it gets, and we'll just keep adding straightforward sugar syrup from our RBC tote. And so my plan with this, and which I ended up doing in the end, was bagging all this up in little waxed paper bags, which make ideal pollen patties. But this was Saturday morning. We had the grandparents booked for childcare because my wife Vicky was coming out with me on the bees. I was a little pushed for time. I was running late at this point actually, so I didn't get the opportunity to bag it all up prior to going. So we just took it as was, and that's why you can see in the video that we're actually spreading it just on top of the frames. Like I say, it's not my preferred method. I'd either Tupperware it so I can place it on top of the bees, or it goes in these little wax bags, as you'll see as we go on. So yeah, mix nice and easy with that drill. And like I said, mix it wetter than you think you'd need, because it does dry up the longer you leave it. Oop. That's a great sign of spring. Got catkins coming out already. They're not giving any pollen yet, but another couple of weeks and the bees will be on those, making the most of the natural pollen. So we're not doing any inspections or anything like that. It's still too early in the season, but we're just going to put a bit of feed on these bees and maybe a bit of pollen. It's quite mild here in Liverpool, much milder than it is back at home. So a couple of these bees, because it's that bit warmer as well, they're a little bit more active and they're starting to fly up a bit. So I'm going to get suited up like the smoker. So we just use, again, being a cheapskate, I repurposed the cardboard packaging out of parcels and things like that. Fantastic in the smoker. So I've decided I'm going to pull the pin, and it's time to start adding some pollen to some of these bees. So we're not going to go daft with it, just going to put a bit on. The bees are active, the temperatures are warming up. I've looked at long range forecast and it looks half decent. And if it weren't for the rapeseed, I wouldn't be doing this, but obviously that's our main target first thing in the year, so we need to have our bees ready for it. So a bit of supplementary pollen feeding, and we're still going to put fondant on for now, and then in a couple of weeks we'll switch that to a syrup. And very ginger bees. To start up a little bit of supplementary feeding before we start feeding properly in the coming weeks. But all these bees have overwintered really well. There's plenty of bees in these boxes, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seams of bees already. So we're not going in and inspecting, we're not doing anything like that, we're just putting a little pollen on the bees and making sure they've got enough fondant. So I've just come across another dead out, so have a little quick look inside, see if we can diagnose. I can see a lot of drone brood already and a little bit spotty. A few emergency cells and not many bees in the box, so I'd say this one turned drone layer or lane worker quite late on last year, and they've obviously not made it through. Still stores in the frames, still bits of pollen, but not many bees. Still pollen there in the frames. Unfortunately, it's just one of those things that happen when you keep bees and keep them through winter. That'll get sealed up now. We'll take that back with us, get it cleaned up, disinfected, replace any foundation that we need to, and it'll get put back into use this year. So we've just took a little trip about 5 minutes up the road from Ollie's. Ollie's actually over there now, just doing his own little blog. So it's an organic orchard, not the one we initially thought we were going to put our bees on. This is a separate one. As you can see, there are about 23 acres of apple trees and fruit trees, things like that. I think they said they put 400 trees in up to now. So we're really looking forward to putting our bees on another great site and making the most of it. So it might be Sunday, day of rest, but there's no rest for us, unfortunately. We've come out to one of our smaller sites again. This site's always plays in my mind a little bit. I didn't get as much liquid feed into them as I'd like to. Admittedly, all my own fault. I moved them around quite late on, and they probably missed out on 2 rounds of feed. So I've had to be on the ball with the fondant. But it's glorious sunshine here today, probably around 10 degrees, and the long-range forecast says it's meant to get milder, upwards of 12 degrees. So we've nipped out, brought the boy with me, although he's dressed like he's going to youth club or something like that, you know, in a fashion show. So I'll show you what we've been doing. Just placing, I know a lot of people, I know a few people will say we're jumping the gun a little bit with the pollen and things like that, but we're still feeding the fondant. That's on there, and all I've done is tubbed up some Ultra B into the patty, into the Tupperwares, and we're just feeding that alongside now. So the bees are active. We have got a bit of a bee flight here today as well. So they'll make the most of that pollen sub if they need it. So he's not completely useless. He's just actually pointed out the amount of snowdrops here just behind where the hives are. So I'm sure it won't be long before the bees find these and make use of the pollen in it. He always finds something. So we seem to quite like it. It's got a fireplace and everything, so I think I might get him to move in here. So I've just let him look at this clover wire here as well, and it's exactly the same scenario as when we were at Ollie's yesterday with the land up there. I suppose we're not a million miles away, to be honest, but it's just starting to sprout and come through with fresh growth. Like I said, I'm really looking forward to this site. Once it starts flowering this, it won't stop till autumn. So as I said previously, the plan was, you can see the wax paper bags there. Obviously no audio again. My mistake, I've not plugged the microphone in, even though you can see me talking away as if I have. So at this point, this is a day, 2 days later, and the pollen sub has not hardened, but it's soaked up a lot of that excess moisture in there. So it's at the ideal consistency that I want now. So We're just using a plastic scraper, and we're just putting enough in to make an ideal patty in the bag. So we just load it into the bottom of the bag, fold it over, and that's good to go. I think from that bag we got around 150 protein patties, homemade protein patties. So I'm over the moon with that, ideal, and they'll go over on the bees on the next couple of weeks. So it's beautiful spring sunshine today, nice and warm, between 10 and 11 degrees. So we've bagged all our pollen up in our little wax-proof bags, so make an ideal patty there. So we're just going to check on the bees. I've already checked on a couple of these nukes and they're absolutely desperate. They're flying through this fondant now. So we're going to just put the crown board on this, shake the bees off, put some pollen on, put some fresh fondant on, and then we'll leave them be and just checking them in a week or so. But you can see these are already over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 frames of bees there, so it won't take long for these bees to burn through the stores, so we best get some on them. And there we go, as easy as that, doesn't bother the bees, nice and calm. And that should be then right for another week or so. I'll fasten these up and crack on with the rest. So people don't need to be panicking thinking we're doing inspections or anything else like that, or they're behind by not doing their inspections. All we did there was lift the crown board, we placed a pollen patty on, so pollen sub, and literally they all took an extra bit of fondant. They're flying through it now. So one thing to bear in mind, as you've seen there, with all our nukes and our hives, all our full-size hives are on 8 frames of bees, and near enough for every single nuke is wall-to-wall 6 frames of bees. So these are going to need some space in the coming weeks once the queen starts laying properly. But something to bear in mind with your own bees: 1, check stores if you haven't already, and 2, bear in mind, you know what I mean, you might need extra equipment to make some splits or give the bees a little bit of extra space. So we'll get packed up and we'll move on to our next site, which is probably just a couple of miles up the road. So there you go, just to prove that this isn't a fluke, this is a separate site, a couple of miles down the road. 6 frames of bees again, overwintered with loads of stores as well, really efficient. So these are from our own bred queens, so grafted by us, mated in our own mating apiary just up the road where we were previously, from our F0 breeder queens. And they are doing a right job for us.